Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, I have a guest, and my guest was going to be Zach from the Brattle. You all like his video segments on this channel, and we were going to talk about giving books as presents, but Zach is unexpectedly indisposed. So I have another employee at the Brattle.
Well, thank you,
Or
Steve.
employer would be more along the lines. This is Ken
Another
Gloss.
person who works at the Brattle.
Yes.
That would work.
This
too.
is you might recognize this face from Antiques Roadshow. He is the proprietor of this wonderful old shop, and I would imagine you have a tale or two to tell about books as presents.
Well, books. Actually, it's interesting. Books make fabulous presents. They make I mean, books cover everything. They cover every subject, area, field, anything you can think of. Used books and rare books, though, actually are a hard present to give. What happens to us a lot at Christmas, we do a better Christmas business, and the reason we do is there are more people in the city, and they buy books for themselves as presents. But one of the reasons that used books and rare books are a hard gift is you really, really have to know the person.
Right, they're intensely personal.
They're intensely well. Also, too, you don't want it to look like you just went through your bookshelf, pulled one of the books off the shelf, and then said, "Hey, I'll give that to Steve for a present." Although you'd like it anyways.
I would like it anyway. Yes, in most cases I would.
But so what happens is people come in looking for a present on a subject or so on, and we'll try to help and find them something that fits. But they're always a little worried. Does the person already have this book? If they're a book collector, does this fit into their collection right and properly? And they ask us advice, and we have to say, well, we need to know
right.
the collection of the person or so on. So what happens is the used books make a wonderful gift, and they particularly make a wonderful gift if you really know the person and you know what they like and you know what they collect and you find the right thing. It shows a lot more effort than walking into the new bookstore picking whatever the coffee table book is off the top.
The book of the season.
Yeah. Exactly. But also what we have, and some people like these, some people don't like them as much, is you have sort of the Franklin Mint Easton Press.
Collectible editions.
Which are beautiful leather-bound books of classics. And they're not expensive. They're $25, most of them. And so they're a great book that looks wonderful, looks great. And it's great to give it to a person and say, we know you love books. Here's a beautiful thing. We've gone out of our way to find it for you.
Right.
Because a lot of what the present is not specifically what it is. It's showing that you want to give them something that they like. And
but is that always true with books?
Sure, well, why would you want to give them a book they wouldn't like?
But isn't it more likely that a book person would be extra sensitive to a book that is a misfire?
I don't think. No, it depends on how well you know the person and what you're really looking for. Sometimes you misfire, and I'll tell you, we have lots of people who come in and say, "Look, this seems like something that we'd really like to give them. If it's not right, can they just exchange it and use it as a gift?" And we say that's fine too. And matter of fact, a lot of times when you're giving a gift, and not only now at the Christmas season, but if a corporate executive is retiring or you want to give a doctor a present because they've done, a good service for you, or a lawyer, you, as the bookstore trying to sell the person the gift, not only does it have to be something you think the person likes it would give, but you also have to give something that the person who's giving it likes. So because they want to feel like, gee, I'm giving them something special. So gifts are fun, gifts work. A lot of people like them. They're fabulous gifts, but it takes a little bit more time and effort. So if you do get the right thing, that's fabulous. And if you don't, usually, if it's any store that you know and they've been in business, they'll usually exchange it. And sometimes it's not the rarest or most valuable book.
Right, right. It's all about the recipient.
Since this is the Christmas season, people sometimes ask me, what's the most valuable book that I've had? What means the most to me? And I'll tell them about like a 1960s Night Before Christmas. It's a nice illustrated copy. most people look at it and say, "Well, make a perfect, nice gift. It's an older one. It's a pretty one. It's that." But that is the copy that my daughters are in their 30s now, and their grandchildren, that I have read to them every
Oh,
Christmas Eve for their every Christmas for their life. So for over 30, almost 40 years now, and also to their grandchildren. So that one book that I got, that actually someone gave it to me years ago, even though I own a bookstore. Uh, I've read, and that one means more to me, and that's irreplaceable.
right.
But it's the sentiment and the thought. I own a bookstore. I own a used bookstore. What do I tell my kids that I want for Christmas? Well, I like the best sports writing of 2022, so I'm hoping that that's going to be on the tree. I like the new Stephen King book because I like Stephen King reading. They're great on planes, and I have a few trips planned, so it'll be my. I don't like reading on Kindles and all that, or just beach reading or so on. That's one. There was also I like Isaacson's biographies, so I might be getting one, even though I might have one in the store anyways. but but so I own a bookstore. I probably have hundreds of thousands of books, and what do I tell people if they want to get me a nice gift? Well, go to the new bookstore because I might not get that, or go to someone who reviews books, and
Oh.
sometimes they have a copy that we can get. But so, they still make a great gift. And if you know the person, you know what they're going to
And
like.
it sounds like that's the takeaway, that you really do need to put in more legwork.
You put in
Than
more legwork. But even if, when you said in earlier that it might be one that strikes out, if you know the person and they know you put the effort in, that's really what the gift is about. I mean, hitting it absolutely right, getting the perfect gift is always good. But even if you take the chance and they know that you put in the effort, that actually makes a great gift too. And maybe they think you got the wrong thing. They read it and they realize that this was something they didn't know they wanted in the first place.
I'm a little bit scarred from the year that I got 30 copies of David McCullough's biography of John Adams from 30 different people.
Well,
I don't think that took a whole lot of legwork.
now my
I
question,
think I dumped most of them here.
my question would be: did you read all 30
No,
copies to see if there were any
I had
typos?
already got a copy from the publisher. I don't know what people were thinking.
Well, but they were thinking Steve likes books.
Right, Steve
We
liked
don't
books.
we
Steve
don't
liked
we don't know
history.
quite what to get him because he gets thousands of books. We want to give something that we think he'd like. So that it wasn't so much that it was a book you already had. It was something they were trying to make you happy with the book, and maybe they also didn't know what else. What else would you like for Christmas, Steve?
A far greater bullseye is a big box of dog treats, but people never think of that at all. They think of a book.
And I hope that's for your dogs.
Well, sure, we'll go with that.
but what I'm saying is, if they don't know, you well enough, they know you love books. They want to get something you'd like. Also, too, quite honestly, if it's a new book out, they know you can probably bring it back to a store, exchange it for another one.
Yeah, I've never understood that though, because people who while you're still opening the wrapping, say you can always exchange it. They're saying, well, here's extra work you can do.
Well, yeah, but it gets you into a bookstore, and I like things that get people
Yes,
into bookstores.
and especially up here. This, if you don't recognize the background here, this is the third floor of the Brattle, where rare and collectible items
Right.
are for sale.
And if you're a decorator and you want to have 5 feet of
Yes.
whatever books, which we just had a large order from New York on, that they needed so many feet
Really?
of leather
Just
binding.
that's what they do. They make the order in feet.
Yeah, but
So the books you see in movie sets, that's not the staff chipping in. The books from home,
no,
they're going somewhere.
But again, it gets someone into a bookstore which they like. They like the idea that you're trying to find something for them. And if you hit it right, it really shows that you've thought and for the person.
I would imagine that up here, this floor would be the place where people would either hit it exactly right or catastrophically wrong.
Well, you don't hit it catastrophically wrong because we'll always exchange a refund or whatever. So you
So
can't
if somebody
do
were to come up here, let's say hypothetically, and spend $1,000 on a book.
it. Yeah, that's nice.
And
We
well,
like
yes,
that.
I'm sure that you do. A very rare edition that they want to give to somebody they know likes that author or likes
Yeah.
rare editions. But as rare edition people will, maybe that person has already has it.
Well, then you either totally refund, or you find something else, or you talk to the person who we might already know and say, "Hey, look, uh, oh, we didn't know it was for you. We've got this, or we've got
Oh,
this
right.
coming in,
Okay.
or."
Yes, well, that's
Uh,
true, 'cause you will know the person. Right.
and then a lot of people, like you say, who get books like that aren't necessarily collectors, but it gets them interested in it. And that literally can be a gift in itself. And many times we have someone coming in for looking for a book, and maybe it would be there, but it doesn't have it. But the book next to it is something they didn't know about. And just the idea that they've come across it serendipitously.
And you mentioned a treasured edition of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Do seasonal books like that do better
Um,
at Christmas time? Do people
Yeah,
come in looking for?
I mean, if you get sort of the classic Christmas books, Night Before Christmas, Christmas Carol, uh, maybe the Polar Express,
Die Hard.
things. Well, yeah,
The much vexed question.
but then you also have people who collect Christmas all year long. So if you get anything nice, or postcards of Christmas,
Really?
magazines with Christmas and Santa Claus, those there are stores who sell Christmas all year.
I
Uh,
guess it's collectible in its
but
own right,
but
isn't
around
it?
Christmas time, probably after Thanksgiving, we make a Christmas window with Christmas books. We pull out our Christmas book stock. Yeah, and put Christmas lights in the window. I mean, it's a fun season, and
The Brattle front windows are works of art. They have been for years. I've often
so
I've often kicked myself that I haven't kept a photographic record.
we haven't either.
I know
But
it's just terrible. It's lost to the ages. And I don't think anyone even thought to do that with, like, for instance, the Sears window.
no, and or if you go to New York and all the stores in New York that really do up their window special, and then you have the people who come in and want Miracle on 34th Street because they've just seen the movie. Uh, it's a cute book. It's a great Christmas story. Um, they some collect Christmas, the first editions of Christmas Carol or the night, but that's a whole different price range and
And not
uh,
restricted to the season, I
no,
bet. That
or
somebody would like that would snap at something like that in the middle of summer, right? It would,
probably, but more people ask about it and think about it at the Christmas
hmm.
season.
And you haven't had to worry about monster snowstorms
Not
like the
this
rest of the
year
country.
yet.
Not so far.
We can worry about them. We haven't had them. Uh, but then you get people who come in and make Christmas recipes,
Oh,
cookbooks,
right. Yes,
Christmas
cookbooks.
travel,
Yes.
Christmas, the history of Christmas. And when you get into the sort of the big, deep religious backgrounds, why it's this time of year, it's even interesting. We had someone come in and they were trying to find a whole thing on how the calendars have changed over the centuries, and whether Christmas was really these dates or whatever. I mean, people have collected the images of Christmas, and so it's a non-ending. But of course, you could say that about Thanksgiving. You could say about the Fourth of July. You could say it's when it gets into the public knowledge, and when it's showing up on TV and magazines and articles and advertising, it focuses people in on a certain era. And Christmas is fun. I mean, you can do the bah humbug thing, Steve, uh, but 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 it still is fun. And like I have a 2-year-old grandchild. He's a little young, but you can start to see his eyes
Oh
lighting up when
my,
you give
really?
him
Oh
something.
wow. But what about, so when it comes to gift giving, to giving, I mean books. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Books and ephemera here at the shop. Are there any hard and fast, just bright red light no nos? Things that you, I mean, you say that you will take it back. We'll exchange it, whatever. But
No, I don't think there are any outright. I mean, unless you're purposely trying to insult somebody or something. Uh,
well,
but
I'm thinking of things like an explicitly religious book to someone you know is not religious, or God forbid, a diet book to somebody.
well,
Can we assume that it's a bad
well,
idea to give a diet book to anyone?
it probably is, but I don't know of many Christmas recipes that are diet oriented.
That's true. They're mostly oriented around lard.
You know, in most cases, I actually have never seen anyone come in with looking for a Christmas present that would get somebody upset purposely. So, you also have to depend. The people who are going to get really upset about a book like that, you could give them anything in the world and they're going to get upset. So I think it's more with the idea and the way you give, whether it's a book, a pamphlet, a postcard, an image, whether it's Christmas or whether it's another time of year, it might still be not the perfect right thing. You're always trying for that, but with the spirit that it's given in, it's still a great present. Like I say, I want that 2022 best sports writing. If I get 3 of them, I'll have 3. I'll just sell 2 of them. But I'll realize that 2 or 3 people I've mentioned over the years that I really like reading that each year. I mean, it's sports. I like sports.
That's a good series. That's just a good series. The Best American. That you can't go wrong.
And I also know the editor from when he used to work at the Boston Public Library, and so I always, when I open it up and read the introduction, I can picture him and what a nice guy he is. But if I got 3 people over the year that had remembered that I had particularly mentioned that, and I got 3 copies, I'd still be just as thankful to each one of those people. Now, I might only read one of them. I might exchange one, or I might just sell them here. But the thought and the idea of getting the gift is still a great
and there's store credit.
Yeah, I get a lot of store credit.
your store credit's in good shape. Right?
Yes, exactly.
You can always call in and give store credit.
Yes.
To anyone you felt like.
Yes, many people do that. I can assure you.
Well, thank you very much. There's a little snapshot for you.
And it could go on forever, because one of the things that I always tell people is when you ask somebody about a subject, we're talking about books, but something they love and enjoy and like, when you ask a question, the problem isn't getting an answer. It's getting them to stop answering. Thank you, Steve. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you so much. So long, BookTube. We'll see you soon.